my fellow humans, welcome to 7 Minutes of Science, your weekly high-speed rundown of the week's top science stories with me, your host, Eddie Edwards, coming to you live from space. I got a green screen, or rather my flatmate got a green screen and I'm using it. Anyway, thanks for sticking with us through the spotty update schedule. That is going to be fixed going forward, so back to weekly now. And with very little else to say on that subject, just had some real nightmare problems over the last couple of weeks. So, without further ado, let's jump right in, and I'll have 7 minutes on the clock, and let's do this. Right, first story this week is about bioluminescence in insects. No, wait, don't go, it's actually quite interesting. There are various types of millipede that have bioluminescences that they use as a defence, or that they use as a display to attract and mate. But it's never really been known where this evolved from. Well, there's another type of millipede, last studied back in 1967 and then kind of been forgotten about as a species, that lives at a lower altitude than these bioluminescent types. It turns out it has a very, very, very light type of bioluminescence, but it's not bioluminescing for its own sake. It's bioluminescing as a side effect of it producing an antioxidant chemical that's very, very important to keeping it alive at these lower altitudes. However, genetically, it is related to these bioluminescent millipedes that also exist. It just seems that this is the early stage of that mutation. This is a really intriguing idea that maybe bioluminescence in animals didn't come from bioluminescence itself, but actually developed as a side effect as another biological process. Very interesting. It's a great insight into something that we don't really fully understand. Okay, and now one of the stories I love because I get to use a lot of really cool sounding terms. At the WM Keck Observatory, a 10-metre telescope in Hawaii using the Moss Fire instrument, a galaxy has been detected that is 15% the size of the Milky Way, but is 3 billion light years away, which, as you obviously know, means it's 3 billion years old. That's incredible. That's fascinating. It's one of the oldest galaxy that we've seen, and probably one of the oldest that could exist given the age of the universe. Very, very bright, very, very colourful. Lots of new stars being formed, and then overfeeding on the gases that are available before just collapsing in on themselves, and it's sort of accelerated lifespan. Obviously, this galaxy has got very different material into it. The universe was a different place 13 billion years ago. But it's absolutely fascinating that we can take a look this far back in time and learn more information about how our universe works. Now, as I hate to inform you of this, but you're all a bunch of eukaryotes. Eukaryotes, of course, are the complicated cellular organisms where we have complicated cells all working together to make us us. However, there's also, as I'm sure you're aware, bacteria, single-celled organisms, and obviously the single-celled organisms clumped together and evolved into us, except for the fact that actually we don't have anything that bridges that gap. We don't have a complicated single-celled organism, a more complex cell, until now. It's called Lokiarchaeota, Loki for short, and it was found near Loki's castle, a thermal vent. See, Loki doesn't get a look in Age of Ultron, but you can see him here, or hear about him here. Anyway, this thing, it is a complicated cellular organism. It's a completely new family on the tree of life, new branch, and it bridges that gap. A complicated cell that can do this, that is still a single cell organism. So very interesting. Plugs another hole in our evolutionary story. And bad news now for the 3.8% of Britons who care about the planet. If you think the number's low, look at how many people voted Green in the election. Basically, the planet's screwed. And this time, the news is that in April, for the first time, it's in about 2 million years, the average carbon content of the atmosphere was 400 parts per million. That's up about 120 parts per million since the Industrial Revolution. Now, worth noting, of course, this has gone over 400 in the Arctic and in Hawaii at various different, a few other stations have recorded over 400. This is the first time that the average has been over 400 parts per million. Really kind of reaching the point where there may not be a way to repair the damage if we keep going on. Just a real shame that nobody seems to have the political will to do anything about this at the moment, which is a real shame. Next, unfortunately, bad news for fun people. If you ever get arrested, the police can tell what drugs you have handled from your fingerprints. Now, I don't know if it's actually illegal to hand someone drugs if you aren't buying them, but basically a new type of spectrographic analysis has been applied to fingerprints covered in very, very, very small amounts of trace chemicals of cocaine, heroin, MDMA I think was used as well. And this can pick up incredibly small particles. On silicon, I think it was 8 nanometers across, which is an incredibly tiny size. Not only can it pick up these chemicals, it can tell where exactly on the fingerprint they are, which means that you can maybe discover that one chemical was on before or after another one, which would of course help police establish timeline and things like that in more serious and actual crimes like murder. But yeah, just an interesting little bit of technology. Maybe it will speed up our justice system. Maybe it will help more of the right people get caught and more of the less of the wrong people. So on to, and finally today, this is quite a good one. The Large Hadron Collider is fired up again. Yes, that's right. Everybody's favourite, massively expensive, ridiculously over the top, nearly firing particles at the speed of the light collider is up and running again. The first collisions were seen on Tuesday of the new run. It's been out of commission since 2013. It's been upgraded, repaired and maintained. Can now handle much higher energy explosions. This is going to be really, really fun. We're going to get some really, really great physics out of this. The stuff that's being done at the moment is just being used to calibrate the sensors. So this is an early test run just to make sure everything's working as we believe it should. Once it's up and running though, in the next couple of weeks you're going to be seeing some real physics experiments and getting some real data out of this that should hopefully lead us to a greater understanding of the fundamental particles that make up our universe. And speaking of fundamental particles that make up our universe, pollen. I mean, it kind of works thematically as a link, but anyway, pollen causes rain. Basically, if you suffer from hay fever in April, you're getting rained on in May. How this works is, basically, rain clouds form from a small piece of particulate that gets up there and a load of water condenses around the cloud. Turns out that pollen is actually the most frequent particle for this. It's the most useful one. It can consume a lot of water and then still be light enough to get carried up to a great height. When the condensation comes in, these pollen trees are the seeds of clouds, which is an amazing amount of work that trees are doing. Trees are really overly pulling their weight. This is really the planet of the trees, and we are very much just... We should probably plant more trees. I think that's probably what we should do. But yeah, anyway, trees. Thanks for the pollen, thanks for the oxygen, and thanks for all the rain. That helps. Anyway, that's 7 minutes done. For once I get to actually say that we have some more videos coming up during the week and not be made a liar by future lazy me. Me and John have recorded a new episode of Two Drunk Geeks. This one is, we put on Roger Corman's Fantastic Four from 1994, never meant for release, made with a budget of $1 million. And we talked about Age of Ultron, and by Age of Ultron I mean the Superman and Batman trailer. Anyway, if that sounds like something you'd want to watch, we should have that up in the week. I've just got to edit it all together. Thank you very much for watching, as always. If you like the show, like the show. If you think something you might like the show, share the show, subscribe, give us a comment, give us a like. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, good luck in your endeavours. If your endeavours be good. Goodbye.